In this video, we'll discuss transition medication reconciliation, or it's probably better referred to as transition order reconciliation, since it's not just confined to the orders. You may have gotten calls from ICU or floor nursing staff about needing a transition medication or order reconciliation prior to transfer to the floor. Basically, this step can be very quick and easy to do. Recall that in Cerner, every order continues until it has been discontinued. In the past, nursing staff might have stepped in and performed a transfer medrec under those assumptions, but in the current system, they cannot access the transfer medrec module, as I'm doing now. They can initiate one if you've already planned one, as I'm pointing to here. If you plan one in advance, they can initiate a transfer medrec, but they can't create one from scratch and sign it. I'll back up here just for emphasis to show you where to find this and how to do it. So within the workflow itself, you'll go to the medications part of it, and you'll see up here if there's a med history, there'll be a check mark. There's an admission medrec, there'll be a check mark, and then transfer medrec. So I can click here to activate the transfer medrec. Alternatively, as everything in Cerner appears to be, there's multiple ways to do it. And if you find yourself over here in the orders window, you can just as easily start the transfer medrec here by clicking on this reconciliation drop-down menu and clicking transfer. It has the exact same effect as doing it within the workflow. But for demonstration purposes, let's just do it from the workflow. So you're working on your case here, and you get down to the medications, you see transfer, you click on it. The system automatically continues any home meds that you've already continued in the hospital. In fact, most of the medicines that the patient's on, it will automatically continue, except for the home medications that you chose to discontinue earlier on the admission medrec. So everything on the left side, of course, is prior to reconciliation. Everything is after. But notice the order is a little different than it was in the admission medrec. Instead, it's first grouped as medications at the top, and you'll see it will group like medications with like. So it will group home medications and hospital medications that are the same together. And this will give you the opportunity to make some changes. Not listed here in this sample is the continuous infusions. That'll be the second thing you'll see. And most of the time, those are the orders that cause the greatest difficulty when transferring from the ICU to the floor. You may have a patient on medications such as Cardine or some other type of infusion, insulin infusion, that may have been specific for the ICU. In the past, the ICU nurse would have known that automatically these medications had to be discontinued, but in Cerner, those cannot be discontinued by the nurse. You'll have to open the transfer medrec and do it for them. Now, alternatively, let's say you wanted to discontinue certain medications, or you wanted to discontinue all these medications here. If you wanted to do that, or the protocols that is, you can do it in advance and plan it. And then when you plan it, the nurse can go back into her session and initiate it later. So that's a workaround. But basically, it can just be if you've got a very, very simple transfer, maybe a patient that came in for a cardiology procedure, and you don't have a laundry list of orders, and your basic intent is to continue all of them, then you simply open this up, give it a quick scan, and then say sign. And then that it tells the nurse that you have reviewed the medications and you're approving to continue them. So that's transfer medrec in a nutshell. You should do that whenever the patient's being transitioned from one major area of care to another, and preferably transfer into and out of the ICU. And if I could even be more exact, transfer out of the ICU is the most critical component. If we don't do it in any other situation but transferring a patient out of the ICU, then we'll have used it well.